got a super special guest. I am absolutely excited to have. I was already excited to speak with this gentleman because of his movie credits. I did know he was a boxer prior to the movie credits, although I didn't know how badass of a boxer he was. So now it's like a whole new level of curiosity. Today we got the mystical, wonderful Jack O'Halloran coming to us, whose movie credits include Superman 1 and 2 and Dragnet, 3 of my favorite movies. But, you know, how's it going, Jack?
I'm doing the best I can, whatever they'll let me get away with.
Yeah, right. I hear you. And to your prior comment, I know vaping's bad for you. I'm trying to quit the smoking and all that stuff. It's fucking hard, but you know, I'll get there. I will get there. Damn it. I'm just tired of it, you know. But enough about that, because it's not important. What is important?
It is important.
So you're from Philly, which is crazy, because Philly, you know, and hey man, I wish Philly was a cooler place. Me and Philly have issues. I make fun of Philly a lot, but that's fine. It is what it is.
It changed a lot. It used to be a pretty neat city. When I was a kid, it wasn't a bad city at all, you know. But W.C. Fields put on his tombstone, it's a great place to be from. You know.
Yeah.
We're drug up from when I was a kid.
It has. The place has fallen down quite a bit.
And they put Cheese Whiz on really good sandwiches, and that just makes me angry. Fucking so mad.
Can't let it go.
I will not let it go. That's it's gonna
at
be
least
on my...
there's the home of Scrapple. They make Scrapple there.
Yeah, it's like one of the few good things that's come out of Philly. I like Scrapple. Scrapple's good. It looks horrible, but man, this stuff is amazing. It's like, but I'm weird. I like pretty much anything Armor makes. You know, their chili is really good. I'm a big Vienna sausage fan. But it doesn't surprise me, you coming from Philly at the time that you did, that you were a boxer. When I had found out you were a boxer whenever I was younger, I was like, yeah, so was everybody else back in that time period of the 60s and 70s. Like, that was the thing you did. Like, you either were on the streets causing trouble, from what I've heard from stories, or you were a boxer. And, I didn't know. Dude, you went 5 rounds with fucking George Foreman in the Garden. Like, my hat's off to you, sir. Like, I wouldn't make like a second of him glaring at me angrily.
I just walked into a fight. Really, that fight, George and I are pretty good friends. I was beating him the first couple rounds, and I walked into a punch, and they stopped the fight really quick. I mean, I got up. I was getting up. I was madder than hell, and they stopped the fight. But it's just part of boxing.
Yeah, I watched the fight earlier. I found a copy of it on YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, and I was just like, my jaw was. You looked amazing. That was the first time I've ever seen you box. You looked fucking good. I'm not a huge boxing fan. I'm more of a MMA fan. The older stuff, whenever they could still, go hard on each other. I guess Bellator does a lot of that now, but. Boxing back then. It
would have been a lot better if I had trained more than a week for the fight.
Wait, really?
Just a week?
I was a bit crazy when I was younger.
I mean, dude, you looked really good. I was surprised you went down. I mean, I had to watch it a couple of times to see where he tagged you, because I mean, it wasn't even. Because I think if I remember that actual fight right. You tagged him, he staggered through a shot, and you just kind of like fell over. I was like, and then the ref called it. I was like, wait a minute. I know he got knocked out, but that didn't really look like it. Did he hit him harder than I thought? Like, I don't know. It just
I walked into a punch, and it was my own fault. And I just just one of them things that happens in boxing. I walked into a punch, but I got up, and it made me pretty angry. They stopped it real quick. They were looking for any excuse to stop it, and they did that. Boy, but that's boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Was that your last fight?
oh
No,
no, because remember, like I was
In
telling
fact,
you earlier.
before that fight, there was I went down to Africa to fight a guy, and then 10 days later, I fought in L.A. and knocked out Manuel Ramos, who was the number 2 ranked heavyweight in the world. Nobody would fight me after that until George.
I mean, you were.
What ended your boxing career? Was it getting into acting, or
Say it again.
what was the thing that ended your boxing career?
When I started boxing, and I was like 16, 17-0, and they did a physical on me one time, and they discovered I had a tumor of the pituitary, which is a disease called acromegalia, and
Wow.
and I shouldn't be fighting at all, and because your body will put out like 10% growth hormone. Mine was putting 150% out.
Holy
So
shit.
it just taxes your body, something terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it causes depression, they say, and stuff like that. And, that doctor said to me, how are you even fighting? And the people that managed me, I said, we really don't want to see you get hurt, because they were trying to look after me because of where I come from, my father and stuff. And and I just said, it's a great day job. I'm going to keep on doing it. So I did.
So
I
you
mean,
kept
you
on
almost.
going, and then you found your way into acting after that? Like,
Well, I tell you, when they sent me up to Boston, because I started fighting out of Philly, and I was had my first, I think, 4 or 5 fights, and then we got into a little bit of a rhubarb there with some street thing, and they shipped me out of town so I wouldn't get in trouble, and I wound up in Boston, and Steve McQueen came to Boston to do the Thomas Crown Affair. And we looked after him when he was up there, and he and I became really good friends. And he said, come on, man, come down on the set, and put you in the movie, and come back to Hollywood. We'll have a ball, man. And I said, man, I'm undefeated as a heavyweight. I think I'll just pass for a while. And what a good kid he was. He did a picture called Towering Inferno, and his name was Captain O'Halloran. Called me on the phone. He said, "How do you like your name up there on the screen?" He was kind of nuts. And so when in '69, when I went out there to fight Manuel Ramos, they had offered me a picture called The Great White Hope with James Earl Jones, and some friends of mine from Rhode Island put it together that they wanted me to get off the street, so they thought it would be a good idea. And the producer said, "Wow, you go to Spain for 6 months." I said, "Wait a minute, I just knocked out the number 2 heavyweight in the world. I'm looking to fight Muhammad Ali, and you want me to go to Spain for 6 months?" I said, "I don't think so." And they get kind of upset. They said, "You were supposed to just sign the contract." I said, "Yeah, well, guess what?" So I turned it down. And then when I retired from boxing, they offered me a picture, Farewell, My Lovely, with Robert Mitchum. And a woman that was handling my commercials and stuff when I was boxing, when I was California heavyweight champion in San Diego, called me on the phone. She said, "I think you should do this picture, Jack. They're really looking for you badly." So I went out and did a screen test, and Mitchum said, "It's either him or I don't do the movie." So I blame it all on Robert Mitchum.
Not a bad person to blame it on.
Yeah, and you ended up with a badass, pretty badass acting career. I mean,
yeah, Farewell worked out really. I mean, I had a great mentor. You couldn't get a much better person than Mitchum to mentor you into a business. I mean, I had never. I did some commercials, but never stepped on a film set before, and he just from day one just took me and taught me the mechanics of it, and he didn't try to teach me about acting. The only thing he told me about acting is he said, "Kid, just take this character, put him in yourself, and be you walking down the street. Don't let me catch you doing like thousands of people in this town acting. Just be yourself, and we'll have a good time." And we did. And Farewell's a really good movie. If you never saw it, you should. It's a good film.
I haven't seen that in years. Years.
I'll have to add it to the list of movies and everything else I'm trying to consume. with the world. I just, I finally, I mean, the Donner cut, you know, which we're gonna get to here in a second. I just started watching that today. Uh,
Oh,
I've
that's
been,
much better than the other one.
oh
Oh
my
my God.
God. Yeah, I
So
haven't
great.
finished it yet because I'm so busy. Like I consume so much content. I've known that the movie was there, but I never watched it because I was a Superman purist and I didn't want to fucking screw with the image, I guess, that was in my head
Why
of
it's sad
Superman.
that it's sad with the Salt Kinds. They were so stupid because had Donner finished two, he would have done 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it would have been a much different franchise, you know, because he lived, eat, and slept Superman, and he's such a great director, and you know, and them bringing Lester on was, I mean, how do you cut Marlon Brando out of the picture?
Yeah. Well,
Marlon Brando's in Marlon Brando's in two in Donner's cut, but he's not in the other cut, you know.
Right.
They
yeah,
cut him out because they didn't want to pay him. They
yeah,
didn't want to pay him the points.
and
That's insane.
they were all, you know, mad at him because he had just sued him because he didn't get his cut of the gross or that. Like the story Superman 2 is kind of dark, and I mean, from what I've seen of the Donner film, I'm about halfway through the Donner film. It's a lot funnier. It's shot better.
Oh, it's
It's
better
just
picture.
it's such a better movie. I mean,
Well, the sad part is he didn't get to finish the ending the way he wanted to, and you know, like we were shooting 1 and 2 together, and he got so hung up in 2 that they had to stop shooting they had to finish 1 to deliver it, you know,
yeah,
Right.
and so he the very beginning of the film that wasn't the way he wanted it, so they used the screen test for Christopher and Margot to start the picture, and then the ending wasn't what he really wanted, but he had shot enough footage that they patched it together, and in the Lester cut of 2, you don't see Hackman. Hackman didn't come back, and,
nope.
and I blame Christopher. Christopher should have turned around and said, "No Donner, no me," and it would have been a whole different franchise. But they were that cheap about certain things, and they owed Lester a picture, so they gave him, and they didn't have to pay him anywhere near they paid Donner. But Lester it was like night and day directors, you know. Wasn't the same thing.
Well, I mean,
To put your name on the picture, you had to shoot 50% or better. So Donner had already shot 85% of the picture.
Right.
So they went back and they had to reshoot some things and, you know, make it Mickey Mouse like, and it just kind of, you know. But it was a good movie, but it's not like that. I like the Donner cut a lot better.
yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
the prison break scene is better. I mean, just that one scene. If you compare, you know, the difference. Like I was laughing the whole time of the prison break in the Donner cut, and the other one you're just kind of like, it's so cliche of a prison break. There's not. I don't know. I'm not. I like the more I watch of the Donner cut, you know, the more I'm angry that I've spent
Well,
this
when you
long.
watch the whole thing,
yeah.
it's just a much better deal.
Well, Bryan Singer did the Superman Returns sequel. It was completely based on that Donner version.
Yeah, but you know, they're never going to get another. They'll never get another Superman like Christopher. Christopher was, I mean, Donner brought a performance out of him that was his first big movie. He never done anything prior to that, you know, other than soap opera and a couple stage plays. And I remember when he came on the set the first time when he interviewed for the picture. They were interviewing like 10 different guys for Superman, and he was like 170 pounds soaking wet. When they went to bodybuilding, the guy that did Darth Vader, nice guy, man, and he and I sat down. I said, you know, you don't want to bulk him up. You want to, because Christopher had an ego about he wouldn't wear anything underneath the costume to make him look built or anything, you know. So I said, you want to build him like George Reeves. Mr. America was very cut and very defined, and just put about 20, 30 pounds on him and just cut him, make him really look so that when he puts that suit on, he looks real. and it worked out really well, boy. And he, but he had that persona changing from Superman to Clark Kent. He did it extremely well.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't think anybody's done it better.
No, he's my favorite Superman. Period. I mean,
and he had a great look.
Mm-hmm. I
mean,
everybody's tried to recreate that look for years and years and years.
Yeah, because I mean, the original look, the original TV Superman that the black and white one, like they went with that heavy, slicked, original Action Comics Superman.
Yeah.
And by the time they made, started the Superman franchise, that wasn't what Superman looked like in the comic books anymore. He wasn't. He was more of a hip, kind of had the little tousled curl thing on the front, and it just Christopher Reeve's he was bam it. And
that was Donner. Donner was meticulous, boy. He's just he was a great director. The guy was a great director. There's no two ways about it. And you can see the difference. Watching 2 and seeing the Lester cut, there's a huge difference in direction.
Yeah.
Just bad decisions.
But I like your decision with Non. I didn't know that was your call to make him a silent character.
They talked about it, and when Hackman and I were doing a picture called March or Die down in Spain, and they flew us up to meet Donner when they asked me to do the picture, and Donner and I had a discussion about the character, because the character was originally in the comic books and all. Non was a brilliant scientist that they lobotomized.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, how do you feel about playing? I said, let me tell you something. Jackie Gleason was a good friend of mine, and he did a picture called Gigo that he won an Oscar for, playing a deaf, dumb, mute guy. And I said, if I ever get an opportunity to do that, I'm going to embrace it, because they give me a chance to do body language and facial expressions and stuff like that, and do some pure acting. And I said, you look at the character, look at the script. I said, you have Terrence Stamp, who's playing a vicious general, Sarah, who's playing a man-eater. Somebody has to relate to these kids. You have a big child audience. I said, so I want to take this brutish guy and play him like a child, learning how to work his eyes and learning how, being agile to Zod, and, just have him do things like a child would, learning how to walk and talk. And he said, wow, what a brilliant idea. And it worked out kind of well,
I think it worked out really freaking well, man. I mean, it's
I had people, I tell you, when I first did my first Comic-Con, people came up to me and they said, my God, you can actually talk. You gotta be pretty good to convince people you really couldn't talk, And then they said to me, God, your character scared the hell out of me, but I love the character because of the childlike mannerisms, So it worked out pretty good, That was a great balance of the 3 villains, so it came out pretty cool.
No, I think it was a perfect balance. I mean, the way Zod was just so overly smart, and then your character, the way you came in with just delivering facial expression. I was just like, this is the best. I grew up watching it. I mean, it blows my mind.
Yeah, I like this scene when I was on the side of the truck burning a hole for the first time with the kid beside me, jumping up and down like a little kid. We had a lot of fun doing it. But I tell you guys, if you're that much a Superman fans, you're in for a treat, because we're going to bring it back. The technology's there, and we'll bring Christopher back. And the 3 villains, we have a great storyline to bring the 3 villains out of jail and make them cohorts together, Superman and the 3 villains fighting all these other clowns coming from different planets and stuff. It's going to be kind of cool. And go back the way that the original Supermans were done, that all-American atmosphere, not killing everybody,
Right.
Going back and putting things in law and order in a proper perspective. So it's going to be a whole lot different. The fan base is going to go crazy over it. They'll go nuts.
Now it's a project you're working on right now?
We have it in the wings. We're working on a couple projects, but that's in the wings. We're waiting for all the smoke to settle from the merger of AT&T and Warner Brothers. as soon as it does settle down. And we've got some people with AT&T that we know well, and Warner's getting their ass kicked with Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics is just tearing them up as far as the villain stuff that's going on, and superheroes and stuff. So
Well, the Joker kind of crushed it. I mean, they got a different angle now, and I think it forces DC to get that Warner Brother kind of to go in a different direction, as opposed to Marvel, where it's kind of like that. Here's the staple of what a hero is, and here's what a villain is, and DC's going this other direction where they can follow just a villain and give him a backstory and make you kind of sympathize with him, even though it's sort of like an American Psycho kind of feel to it. And
yeah, croaking everybody. That's it, So they're so dark, the pictures that they're doing. It's just they got to get back to they lost perspective that Superman was the first American superhero, and the two pictures that we did really brought that out big time. And it's just the all-American way and everything, and they changed it all. They make it darker and darker, and got them fighting other villains and stuff. It's just crazy. So
it gets intense too. You can't take your kids to it anymore.
No, it's kind of a strange, just not as wholesome as the ones we did. So I think to bring it back the way it was, I think the fan base will just go nuts over.
What about it is there anything you can give me on this project? Like you're gonna come in, are you coming back to the role?
Oh yeah. Well, we can see with the technology of today, you can bring back anybody any age you want. So we'll come back the same ages, and bring Hackman back and Brando back, and with this technology that we have to bring them out of jail and everything, I can reverse the lobotomy on Non, and Non may speak. Hey,
Get a couple lines.
What a difference joke that'll be.
That'll put you in a different bracket in the SAG thing, right?
It'll be Zod kneel before Non, So we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So we're looking forward to it, actually.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm pumped about it. This is great. So what part of the country are you in now?
I'm in California, Redondo Beach, California. Where are you guys at?
We're in Ohio.
We're in Ohio.
Ohio. What part of Ohio?
Central Ohio. He's basically on the north end of Columbus, and I'm in the country just to the west of Columbus. So
I have a lot of good friends in Cleveland.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
I've been to Cleveland a few times.
Cleveland's not too bad.
Of course,
the music capital, man. You have the Music Hall of Fame there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've never been to it.
I watched them build that riverfront. When they put that riverfront in down there, it was a great idea.
They had to do something with that area because it was catching fire and all that. It's pretty nasty.
Well, I mean, even whenever I was younger, most of the area along the river up in Cleveland, like the flats and stuff, was just ghetto and dangerous.
Yeah, they turned it all into that. Where they put clubs and everything down there. They changed a lot of it down there.
That's what I've heard. I haven't been back up to that part of Cincinnati or Cleveland in a long time, but it's cool that it evolved, I guess.
The sad part, when you see Cleveland and other cities back there, that they should never have put casinos there. I mean, you can't. People are going there betting their mortgage money and stuff. It's just it was bad enough poverty-wise before, but it's even gotten worse.
Well, I mean,
Detroit the same way.
Yeah, they did the same thing here in Columbus. One of the things I was super shocked about whenever I moved back was to find out they had a freaking casino in the ghetto. Like, it's not even. They didn't even pretend to. Like, it's one of the areas I used to sell a lot of drugs in when I was younger. I mean, like.
Be careful, man. There's no statute of limitations on some things.
There's statute of limitations on everything I did. I'm way past all that stuff. It's just like, it blows my mind that they would put a freaking massive casino
the sad part of that is that gambling's an addiction.
Yep.
And you have people that are going to create crime to get money to go there and gamble.
Right.
And that's the sad part. And people that, like I said, they're gambling their mortgage money, they're gambling, and it's bad enough with the loss of jobs and everything that's been going on back there, especially in Ohio
now.
with the tire industry and everything,
Mm-hmm.
things that they were prominent for, and Michigan, the auto industry. There's a lot of high-paying jobs that people walked away, they're gone. So the economy has done like a reversal factor in a lot of ways, and it's just to put a casino there to tempt people to spend whatever money they do have is just really ludicrous. I think.
It is. I totally agree with you. I mean, I did a film about maybe 8 years ago now, but it took place in Detroit, but we shot part of it in Lebanon. Actually, it was supposed to be Gaza, but it was basically a comparison between how the Middle East looks after it's been bombed out and how Detroit looks.
Oh
With how
my
those
God.
empty factories and everything, and but
Yeah.
it looks the same. Like a Middle Eastern guy comes over here expecting it to be the land of plenty and stuff like that, and
Finds out it's like his backyard.
yeah, yeah, and he's like, no bombs have fallen here, but it looks the same. Like, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Detroit. When I was boxing, and I fought. I beat Alvin Blue Lewis there. Alvin Blue Lewis was a pretty good fighter. He had went 15 rounds with 13 rounds with Ali in Ireland. Came back
Yeah,
and he beat Ernie Terrell and a couple other good fighters. And they called me up and they were trying to make another Ali fight with him. And they called me on the phone. They said, "You want to fight Alvin Blue Lewis in Detroit?" And they had taken my license over organized crime in California. And I said, "Can I get a license?" And the guy said, "Absolutely. You'll take the fight?" I said, "Absolutely. Send me a ticket."
hmm,
And I beat Alvin Lewis really badly. But he, when I went there, I was one of the last people to stay at the Cadillac Sheraton in downtown Detroit.
oh wow,
And they were locking the place up at night, like at 10
hmm,
o'clock at night. If you didn't have a key to the room, you couldn't get in the hotel.
right,
They had locked the doors. It was that bad downtown. It was just. And
it's
I remember when we did the fight. I mean, they paid us. We didn't. Money was just coming into boxing. I think we only got 4,000 or 5,000 for the fight. So I had friends of mine that ran Jefferson Boulevard and some pretty tough kids up there. So I said, bet every round of the fight, I'm
hmm,
going to beat this guy to death. He said, "Jack, you're in Detroit. It's his hometown. The guy's #2 in the world." He said, and they're babysitting him for another Ali fight. I said, bet every single round. I'm going to beat this guy like a stepchild. And and I did, and and I think we won about 95,000 betting outside the ring.
oh,
That was that was kind of a good night after all.
I would say.
oh,
And you almost fought Ali.
Oh, 4 times. We were signed in San Diego. We had the contracts all signed and everything. And uh, Norton's people were really wealthy people. Bob Byron owned half of La Jolla, and Art Rifkin owned the Coca-Cola factory, and they had a lot of money. So they took some money and went to Detroit. Went to Chicago, and gave it to Herbert Muhammad, or Muhammad, whatever the guy's name was. And Norton got the fight. Ali, and Ali, I mean, he was in tears, called me on the phone. He said, "I don't know how to tell you this." He said, "But I don't have any control." He said, and we had a contract. We had all the deal all made.
hmm,
Gave him 40% of it. It was a good deal for him. And and then I was supposed to fight him in Australia, and he wound up fighting Bugger. Then I was supposed to fight him somewhere else. I don't know. And then when I beat Alvin Blue Lewis, I went up to camp to see him in Pennsylvania. And I said, "Son, let's get this thing on." I said, "We've been waltzing around with this for a long time." And we went into the dressing room, he and I, and all the reporters and everybody were outside, and we were kicking the door, pretending like we were fighting in there and screaming at each other and stuff.
That's awesome.
They opened the door, they expected to see a bloody mess or something. And when we sat down to eat dinner, and he said to me, if I really gave you a fight," he said, "are you really going to try and beat me?" I said, "Let me tell you something, son. For the first time in my career, I will go to camp like you guys do, and and I will train for a couple months." I said, "And when you come in that ring, you better bring a gun with you." because you're going to need it. And he said, 2 steaks, please. You know, so he was a good guy. I kind of liked Muhammad a lot. He was one-on-one. He couldn't find a better person. He was just very smart, very articulate, and he was just an all-around guy. I liked him. We had a good friendship. We just couldn't get the fight to work. You know, we tried a couple times, and it just my own fault. Some of it, I would blow a decision over here or something because I was paying attention to something else. You know, I was dumb. I used to take fights on 2 days' notice and things.
Oh my God! And you'd win.
I did that a lot, actually.
Oh man!
When I fought Norton in San Diego, I was in New Jersey, and we had like half dozen indictments against us for union business, different things, problems and stuff.
Oh man!
And they called me on the phone and they said, you want to fight Ken Norton? I said, when? The guy said, next week. I said, send me a ticket. He said, you'll fight? You take the fight? I said, send me a ticket, son. I wanted to get out of town. So I went out to California and I gave Norton a licking, boy. I mean, it was, and they gave the hometown deal, but I won the town. People went crazy over the fight. In fact, in the 9th round, people were standing on the chair screaming. It was such a great fight. And they couldn't hear the bell ring. The guy rang the bell 3 times before anybody heard it. And when they separated us, I was going back to my corner. He ran across the ring and hit me behind the head and drove me into the ring post. And Joey Almas, the commissioner, jumped up in my corner. He said, you know, Jack, he said, if you can't continue, you just won the fight on a foul. And I was mad. I said, foul? I said, I'm going to kill that son. And then it dawned on me in the middle of the 10th round, what am I doing here? I'm in his hometown. They're looking, you know, he's got a lot of money, people, you know, so, you know, they gave him a nod, and then, but I, like I said, won the town. So I stayed there and knocked out a half dozen guys and became California heavyweight champion. I beat a guy that no one wanted to fight, Henry Clark from San Francisco. And he was a hell of a fighter. So we, you know, had a good time down there. San Diego was kind of cool. I like, got me off kept me out of one kind of trouble, got me in worse trouble.
That's so crazy. No training, and you just go in and.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. Ali, the way Ali and I, for the first time we were going to fight, he called me on the phone with a friend of mine, Gene Kilroy, who was very close to him. And Ali was living in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He just bought a house there. And he called me on the phone and he said, you got to do me a favor. I said, yeah, I'll do you a favor, sign a contract to fight me. And he said, no, he said, I'll do that. He said, but you got to do me a favor first. I said, well, what's the favor? He said, you're fighting my brother next week. And you got to get him out of boxing. You got to hurt him, get him out of boxing, man. I said, Rahman Ali's your brother? He said, yeah. He said, that's my brother. And so I said, oh, God, I better go to the gym a couple days. And I knocked him out in the 9th round, and he never fought again. It hurt pretty bad. And he never fought again. So then that's when we started negotiations to fight. And I had a Canadian guy that had just bought the arena in San Diego, and he was a real good guy and he had a lot of money, and he thought it was a great idea. So we made a deal with Muhammad. It is what it is, you know.
Sometimes, you know, things work out, I guess, the way that they're supposed to work out.
Hey, you know, you never cry over spilled milk. You just learn from your lessons. That's all.
Right.
Yeah. Another movie I wanted to talk to you about was Dragnet. I mean, that had to have been great movie. I bet that had to have been fun, because I mean, dude, whenever I was
Dragnet, you can watch Dragnet 50 times, and you still won't get all the one-liners that Danny Aykroyd throw out.
Oh fuck no! Like I remember watching that movie as a little kid, like just blown away by how awesome it was. Like I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons. I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of different things, but my mom let me watch stuff like Richard Pryor and, you know, Dan Aykroyd movies and the Blues Brothers, you know, and like all those, you know, all that vein of comedy stuff, which is probably a lot of the reason why I'm a comic now. But fucking, I don't know how many times I watched Dragnet. I loved that movie. Like the scene with the snake. The whole movie is so good, and Tom Hanks was so funny back then.
Well, that was his breakout movie, you know. Mm-hmm. That's where he came out at, you know, with the Dragnet. And Danny was just a very, very talented man. God, what a talent he is. Jesus. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, Christopher Plummer was in the movie, and
Oh yeah.
Dabney Coleman. And, it was just it was a good cast, and Tom Mankiewicz. I did it because Tom Mankiewicz directed. Tom was a dear friend from Superman.
And how was he as a director? I mean, like working with
He
him.
was great.
Yeah.
Tom, how could you not be good working with Donner all the years he did?
Right.
Yeah.
Just, and Tom's father was a brilliant guy in the industry. So he came from his whole family was film oriented people. So Tom was a really super guy, a great writer actually.
And they did such a good job with that movie. I mean, it was so different than the TV show, because
Danny he had Jack Webb down so well. I mean, he walked around with an earpiece in his ear all the time, listening to Jack Webb talking. So the one-liners that he threw out were just unbelievable. He's just a natural. Well, he's a comic,
Yeah.
But he's very good at it.
Yeah. Well, Dan Aykroyd's good at everything that he does. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't think of anything he's touched that hasn't turned to gold. I mean,
we drank that vodka that he has.
You mean
I don't know if you've ever...
have you tried? So how is it? It's
the best. Like my wife's a connoisseur of vodka, and yeah, that's by far the best. That's like a special treat when I come home with that.
Yeah, I wanna try that stuff.
Crystal Skull vodka. They pour it over. They distill it over diamonds.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
And if you listen to him talk about it, you're just like, that's fucking such horse shit. And he's like, no, seriously. You're just like, this is fucking horse shit. It's fucking Dan Aykroyd lying to everybody. And he's like, no, man, the diamonds change colors and everything. And you're just like, what?
I don't know if it's got alien skull in it. I don't know what the deal is, but Tito's gives her a headache. The crystal skull, she wakes up fine the next day. It's great.
So
no complaints. No complaints.
Yeah, and your character in Dragnet was awesome. I mean,
Aim was.
Yeah, it was. God, I fucking love that movie. I need to watch that movie again. I'm play it for my kids.
Yeah, you can watch it. That's a movie you can watch over and over because it's got great. Like I said, you try and pick up all the one-liners that Danny did, you'll go crazy.
Oh yeah, I don't know how many times I've seen that movie. I mean, I watched it so many freaking times. I used to get
sequel. They should do another one.
I wish they would.
Yeah, the music was great. It was just a great film. We had a lot of fun doing it.
And you could tell. I mean, you could just tell. That's me and James have talked about it a little bit. Like movies nowadays, they're just not as good as they were back in the 80s and whatnot. Maybe that's just me getting older and more crotchety, but I mean, the special effects are awesome, and I do dig them. And just like you guys are doing with Superman, you guys are bringing it back. I think that's fucking great. But at the same time, it's like back then, you had to really have a good fucking movie in order for it to be a good movie.
Well, you know what makes you Superman? When we did Superman, we didn't use any CGI. I mean, they have this new technology today, LED, shooting this LED stuff where you don't ever have to go on location. And we did that with Superman. We shot VistaVision on VistaVision. That's why the fight scenes were so dynamic, because we had no wires or anything. We were flying. You see us flying under bridges, around buildings and stuff, and it blew people away. Like, wow, man, how the hell they do that? And it wasn't CGI. They shot us into the movie. We had this big 70-foot screen and pole arms that came out of it with body molds that we laid in. They dressed us over that, and they gave us movements that we could do, turning and going down and under and stuff. And they shot us into the movie. It was a long and tedious deal, but it worked out tremendous. I mean, that when we had to stop shooting too, Warner Brothers had went to the Salkinds and said, guys, you're going to be late on delivering Superman 1. And Alexander held them up for another $15 million. And they got into an argument Warner Brothers said, well, maybe we won't pick up the option for Superman 2. And Alexander's ears perked up. He said, oh, does that mean I could bring in other distributors? And they said, yeah. So I was in the screening room at Pinewood Studios when he invited all these people in to see, and what he showed them was the fight scene. And they sat there and their jaws dropped. And I mean, Warner Brothers couldn't get the rubber bands off their money fast enough. You know, of course we're going to pick this movie up. No, exactly. No question about it. You know, but there was it was quite a, and that's why the movie stands up so well today. You know, 40 odd years later, it's still one of the best films out there.
Well, I feel like back then too, like it's sort of like music is like back then there was not that many bands compared to what there is today. So the quality of the music had to be so much better. That's why.
Williams was a genius. He was an absolute genius.
Right, and now it's like movies. There's so many movies that come out all the time up until COVID. But I mean, it was just like every week you got 5 different movies that come out in the theater, and it just gets all thrown into the muck. As opposed to back in the 60s and 70s when when one movie would sit in the theater for 4 months, you know, like Star Wars would sit there for how long? A year? It kept making money. I mean, that's what I think the difference is. Why the quality is so much less today. And like everybody, like you said, they just throw them in front of a green screen. They put all this CGI on it, and it looks like shit. And I mean, when you got those there's nothing that's going to replace those practical effects of being in front of a camera, shooting film, and having real characters there, not just CGI things popping up. And
yeah, I never had. I did all my own stunts and everything. I just never. So it was, you know, they get this guy. I said, I do it myself. It was much better. You know, you can shoot my face while I'm doing it. Stuff. I mean, I remember when we went through the Daily Planet, we wrecked it when we were coming through the place, and when I was walking through that wall, and they had the thing all set up, and they had the cutouts and certain things, and the guy had a jack on it that would make the wall explode, and I hit the wall and exploded it myself, and then the jack hit me in the arm, and I kept on. And I kept moving. I kept going through the scene, and the guy was scared that he thought I was going to kill him. He ran out of the building because I just went through and did the scene because it was such a great take. And afterwards they come up to me and said, "Well, guys, your arm broken? You okay?" I said, "No, it's all right, I'm fine." And the guy he thought he was going to get killed. He ran out. Saunders said, "Guy, you can see the back of his ass running out the door." He said, "It was funny and shit." But the scenes worked so well. You know, we did things that were really we broke a lot of technology rules with Superman, which I was kind of proud of doing, you know.
Yeah, you pushed those boundaries. You got to push the boundaries.
Yeah, we did. Man, it was long. You know, we worked hard. We had 16, 18-hour days. We worked really hard on that film. There was no, you know, Sarah hurt her ribs doing the flying shots and stuff, and the harnesses that they had for certain things that we did when we landed on the water and stuff like that, and they stupid asses, you know, they couldn't get the right guy to make the right harness for us to hold us and stuff like that. And I said, you know, there's a guy who did the harnesses for us on King Kong when we went off the log. Call him on the phone, and they brought him over. Bingo, solved problem. You know, but they were just they cut corners in the worst way. So stupid. But it worked out at the end of the day. We wound up with 2 very good films, boy. And then they came out with that Atrocity 3, and I said, oh my God. And 4 was just diabolical.
Come on.
It was so bad. 4 was so bad that Warner Brothers never distributed it. It was distributed by Canon.
Right.
Canon Films distributed it.
It's the same one who did Supergirl, right?
Yeah.
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 Which was right
Canon
on par
Films
with
distributed Superman for him. Christopher wrote the script.
Yeah.
It was, oh God, it was terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I like 3. Are you talking about whenever he cuts the
When he's in the thing and he's in the museum and
Yeah,
cutting
yeah,
the
with
Superman
the
hair and then they shoot it off into space. God, that was so great. Solar Man or something.
I mean, I liked the premise. I liked the movie. I wasn't so horrible. I don't know. I liked the Richard Pryor one too. But then again, I'm a Superman freak, and I'm also a huge Richard Pryor fan. So, I mean, it always worked for me. But I think if
Richard was really a funny guy.
fuck,
Man. I was so angry at myself because I had an opportunity to do a film with Richard and Gene Wilder, Silver Streak. I turned down 5 pictures, and Richard Keel did them, and that was his career. Made his career. God bless him. But
I mean, Silver Streak was a good fucking movie.
Well, I was supposed to do that character. They came to me really hard. I mean, I was doing King Kong, and we had a break because they went to New York to shoot the ending. So we were sitting on the beach in Hermosa Beach. I said, you know, and for 6 weeks, and they said, Paramount came to me, please do this film. We want you to do this very badly. Blah, 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 blah. And I should have done it. And they, you know, De Laurentiis was going to let me go up and come back again and stuff like that. And that was a bad mistake. I should have done it. Because just working with Wilder and Pryor would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah.
That would have been a couple stories there, I think.
More than a couple, probably, because Silver Streak, I think, was before Richard kind of fixed himself a little bit for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was back in, he was just a wild fucker running around.
That was 1976.
Yeah.
That was in 76.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Wilder was such a talented guy. My God. And a nice guy. What a nice cat he was. So it would have been a lot of fun working with the two of them. I should have done it. But I didn't want to get into those clunky roles like that, you know, and it just, it was that picture I should have done. And they came to me to do The Longest Yard with Richard, with Burt Reynolds. And I was doing something, I forget what I was doing when they came to me for that. But, and it was an Eastwood picture that just working with Clint would have been a lot of fun, but the character was not a great character. So I said, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And it's like the Bond movies. They came to me to do the Bond movies, and I was just signed to do March or Die, and the Cubby Broccoli and his son came over from London. They were sitting in my agent's office in Beverly Hills, and I was around the corner with Mitchum having lunch because it was his birthday, so I was getting him drunk. And we were sitting there, and I said, you know, I got to walk around the corner to meet these guys who flew over from London to see me. And he said, for what? I said, they want me to do the Bond picture. He said, you like the script? I said, no. He said, then tell them to go to hell.
Yeah.
I said, well, I got to go around and see them and say, respectfully, see the guy. And he said, so he said, I'll be right here when you come back. So I walked around, and I walked in my agent's office. Wow, we want you to do this. Blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't know. I just signed to do this picture with Hackman and Captain Deneuve and all down in Spain and Morocco. And I don't know whether I can get out of it. And I could have probably gotten out. But I'm glad I didn't, because then I would have done, you know, I did Superman right after March or Die. So it worked out very well.
I would say so. So what are you up to now? I mean, what are you doing?
I've written a book called Family Legacy, which is kind of a really great read. And we got 3 more books coming, and we're going to do a mini-series. We were going to do a film, but the mini-series, we have so much information because we're bringing Charlie Luciano's book in as well, and we're going to incorporate it. Charlie's son's a good friend of mine. And we're going to incorporate it, and it's... so we're going to do a mini-series that'll turn into a series, because I got 3 more books come out.
Nice.
Family Legacy is kind of something that I've harbored for a long time, and we're telling the truth about what really happened in the streets. My father was kind of an infamous individual out of New York, a guy called Albert Anastasia, who ran a little company called Murder Inc. And he was,
that sounds intense.
He was probably the most infamous of the Italians that came into the country. The Gambino family was his family, and it turned into the Gambino family. And, he was partners with Charlie and Frank Costello and Meyer Lansky. And there's a lot of things that they lie about. Hollywood's taken a lot of, you know, lead wave of stories that were never come up with answers to, and they did their version of what they thought was when they don't tell the true story about how things really fell apart in the beginning, and when industry and government and organized crime and unions were all partners. You know, they all watched each other's back, and up into the Kennedy era, and they took a lot of the illicit monies that they made way before they ever got in any drug business. Right? A lot of the illicit monies they made, they put back into the growth of a country, because their major money making was loan sharking and gambling and extortion. And if you didn't have money, how could you pay them? So they made sure you went to work. So they helped build the country, in essence. You know, they created they financed a lot of countries like Westinghouse, General Electric, Sears and Roebuck. And no one ever talks about that. They only talk about the street garbage and stuff. And so I think it's time we told the truth about how the country really evolved and all the people that were involved in doing that. I mean, Charlie Luciano was the one who was responsible for the OSS, which turned into the CIA. He helped put that together. And you know, there was just, it's time to tell, like I said, the truth about a lot of things. So I wrote the first book. It goes from my father's death to Kennedy's assassination. And I tell the truth about the Kennedy assassination. It's so many conspiracy theories that are so full of shit that, you know, it's time that somebody tells the real truth about what really happened. And that's what we're going to do. So, you know, we're going to have a lot of fun, I think. It'll probably be one of the hottest series that you've ever seen. It'll make Sopranos and Boardwalk Empire look like a kid's game.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have a lot of fun.
I mean,
and then we're building a studio in Nevada. We're putting the biggest film studio in the history of the business and putting everything under one roof for the first time. And then we're going to build a smart city next to it where it'll hold like 30,000 people. So people only have 15 minutes to go to work, instead of like what today, like I live in Redondo Beach. If I'm going to do a picture of Warner Brothers, it's almost a 2-hour drive each way, traffic wise and stuff. You know? So
everybody's leaving California.
It's going to make things much more cost effective. It's all good. You know?
Well, California's falling apart, isn't it?
Sorry?
Isn't California like bankrupt? They're falling apart.
Wow, they're so foolish what they've done out here. You know, so it's, I mean, this will cause the film industry to move to Nevada, which is not a bad idea.
Oh yeah,
not a bad idea at all.
Well, I mean, there's already comics are making a mass exodus out for the most part. The only ones who aren't are people who have you know, kids in high school or that kind of thing, who don't want to uproot their kids. But I mean,
well, you got the studio. Unfortunately, the studios are being run by NBA guys. They're not guys that sort of remaking everything. You know, they have no creativity. They come in for a couple of years to rip off a lot of money, and then they leave. They're not here for any longevity. Not like the old. And the original studios had all the room to do what we're talking about. They just didn't do it. They looked for locations with tax deals here and there and stuff. So we're putting everything under one roof in Nevada. It's going to be a great change, and it'll be much more cost effective for people to do films. You know, this stuff of spending $200 million on a movie is ludicrous.
It's crazy. It's
stupid.
Crazy.
Well, it's thievery. It's
Hollywood accounting,
making a lot of money.
Right?
Hollywood accounting.
Hollywood. I've learned that in college.
You have never seen a true version of what you call net gross.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Matt, do you know that Harry Potter's never made a profit?
Well, you know, I'll tell you what. You look at Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
When they did Lord of the Rings, they borrowed from a company. They borrowed from a studio $100 million, but they did it 16 points above LIBOR. Okay, so by the time it took $900 million before they broke even, which is insane, you know. And it's just to show you the difference in how the MBAs do their accounting. They did a picture. This is a funny story. Do you remember Airplane?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just watched that like a week ago.
Airplane was done by a couple young producers out of New Jersey, and and the picture only cost like $2 million if it cost $2 million. And they went to a guy called Robert Stack to play the coke snorting captain. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they went to Robert and they said, "We'll give you $50,000 and 5 points in the movie." And Robert Stack said, "My price is $100,000. And so they went back to him and said, "We'll give you 75,000 and 5 points in the movie." And he said, "My price is $100,000. So they paid him and he did the movie. And then they were at a Hollywood party. About 6 months afterwards, the film was out and was doing extremely well. And the producers made a very bad mistake. Robert used to drink a few drinks, and he got a little boisterous when he was drinking. And they yelled across the room at him, "Hey, Robert!" He said, "Aren't you sorry you didn't take those 5 points in airplane?" And he said, he said, he abruptly got up in his voice, bellowed across the room. He said, "Hey, let's talk about those 5 points you people gave me." He said, "How much has the movie done so far?" And they said, "Oh my God, it's up around $90 million. He said, "Yeah, pretty good, huh?" He said, "Then how come it's still in the red? And what would I have done with my 5 points but wipe my ass with them?"
Exactly.
The formula for film is that it's 2.5 times the gross you're supposed to be in a profit. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
And for a picture that costs $2 million and it's at 90 million and it's still in the red, somebody's stealing a lot of money.
A lot of people are stealing a lot of money.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, it's the guy that wrote Jurassic Park. It's a great writer.
Michael Crichton.
Yeah. Michael had a contract that he had a couple gross points in the film. And he got his first residual check like 2 or 3 years after the movie was out. And he framed it. The residual check was for like $79.
On a Spielberg movie.
And that picture made a lot of money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just like you're talking about, these movies. I mean, you turn around, you look at films, little films that turn into huge, like The Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks.
Fantastic.
It's about great movie about a hitman and his kid, and no big name guy or anything, and you only had Tom Hanks and you had what's his name? Paul Newman was in it. And, a couple people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the picture did $900 million.
Yeah.
Made a lot of money. It was just a great little movie. Because it was a great story, and it was very well done, and had Tom Hanks' stamp on it. It was a great character that Tom played, and it worked very well. And so you turn around, you shake your head at some of the stuff they do today, and you say, "Well, man, where did they come up with this?" And they're remaking this and remaking that, and I said, "Gee, how can you touch some of the originals that were done?" It's just ludicrous that you would even think about it.
Right.
But that's Hollywood.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find you, Jack? Where can
I'm at FamilyLegacyTheNovel.com is a site of mine, and if you go there, it'll take you to Amazon in reference to the book. And we're just getting ready to. In about 30 days, we're going to publish another book on family legacy, and we're getting ready. We're getting ready to do the studio, and if it wasn't for the pandemic, we'd already been started building over in Nevada, and we're going to get ready to start to put. We have Family Legacy coming together pretty well, so we got a little bit of work cut out for us for the next few years. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, good. It sounds like we'll.
Idea, Jack.
Yeah. Me and James are actually working on our own little idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds a lot like what Tyler Perry's doing out in Atlanta too, which he's got the right idea. Build your own studio.
Take control of your own stuff.
He does, but he's got a lot. It's a non-union deal really,
Mm-hmm.
and he's taking guys who have no track records and stuff as technicians. So you get a little bit not cost effective there. So.
Right.
And Tyler's a good guy. I mean, listen. Oprah Winfrey, he should send Christmas cards to every day, because when she put him on her show with his first book, and she just made his career away.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a very talented guy. Tyler's a very
fantastic
talented guy.
Yeah.
He's
Very
a
nice
talented guy, and so he stands up for what he does, and God bless him, But to build what we're building in Nevada is something that's needed by the industry. I mean, there's no water body in LA. You imagine the biggest film industry, and we don't have a pool here. In other words, we had the one down in Baja that Cameron did for Titanic, and that's gone. We had the Esther Williams pool here when we did King Kong, but we had to go shoot Superman in London because of the 007 stage.
Mm-hmm.
It was the biggest stage in the industry, and they needed a stage to do it, to put the fortress and everything. And so it belongs in Hollywood. So we're going to put, like I said, everything will be under one roof. Every technology that you can think of will be there for streaming, for music, for everything. And it's the first time where people won't have to go traveling all over the place to get bits and pieces done of the film. It'll be make it extremely cost effective, which is what's really going to be dynamic, because the product will be so much better that's coming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you get so much more time to focus on your actual craft rather than dealing with getting from point A to point B and then the logistics.
Well, it's like, listen, they did a tax deal in Florida, and they're non-working states, and they had tax deal in Georgia, and it started in North Carolina, but it never lasts, because you have to have a lot of product for you to make a studio really work. And everybody ran out there to take this tax deal down. And what they never thought about was there were no technicians to do all this product. You only had a certain amount of technicians. So guys had to fly out. You had to fly people from California out to different states. And by the time you brought people out, housed them, fed them, there's your tax deal was eaten up. Yep. So if they had a problem on the film, they were tearing pages out of the script to make it work.
Well,
that's why you have so much bad movies are being done. You know?
Yeah, well, the tax deal expires, so there's no reason to you go in, you do the movie, and then you leave.
Well, right? They put a tax deal in Michigan for a short period of time, and it was like a 40% tax. It was phenomenal. So everybody ran to Michigan. They were going to do movies in Michigan, and then Michigan come out.
And all that stuff.
Michigan come out 6 months later with a letter saying, "Well, we have a tax deal, but we can't pay you for a couple of years." You know, so the movie guy said, "Wait a minute, I count on that money to make my movie." Well, sorry, you can't get the money for a couple of years. So that threw that right out the window. You know, because the state was broke. They put up people go into a state, they make a movie, and everyone thinks, "Oh my God, we can make a fortune bringing the film industry in there." But they don't realize how much product you have to bring in to make it work.
Yeah,
you understand? So we're doing a deal in Nevada, and we have a great tax deal, 45%, but we're not asking the state to write that off of their budget. We're doing what you call a tax rateable deal. In other words, the industry, what we bring into the state, we're taking a portion of the tax product off it. So it's not hurting the state at all.
That makes sense.
Understand? A whole different scenario.
Nevada's a pretty smart state whenever it comes to taxes.
Well, it's going to work out really well. The studio is going to be monsters. It's just, we're having a lot of fun. It's going to be good.
I'm slated to get out in Vegas soon, so I'm going to have to come out and see what's going on out there.
Yeah, for sure. We're building in Apex, about 15 miles. It's what they call North Las Vegas.
Yeah. I'm familiar.
Yep.
All right, Jack.
We appreciate you, brother, and we hope.
My pleasure, man. You guys take care in Ohio out there. Don't get in trouble, will you?
Yeah, no, we will.
Do our best.